Well, do you want to know the things that I hate the most about living in Virginia Beach? The 8 things. Well, that's what we're talking about today, and we're starting right now. Hey, my name is Sam Santalone, and I'm a real estate agent in the Hampton Roads area of Virginia Beach, all the way west and north towards Williamsburg. I help people all over the world move to this area, and you can call me anytime you like, days, nights, and weekends, and I'll do whatever I can to help you relocate here. Please, if you wouldn't mind, hitting that like button for the YouTube algorithm. It helps spread the word to other people who might love my videos too. Now, today we're talking about the things that I hate, the 8 things that I hate about living in Virginia Beach. I get real aggravated about Virginia Beach. I grew up here, so I feel like I have some excuses. Well, I love this city, but I do think there are some things worth mentioning that if you do want to relocate here, if you've never been here before, you need to know these things. Number 1 is the jet noise. I really think this is one of the most frustrating things to me in Virginia Beach living here. Some people you talk to in this city don't care or don't notice it. I'm serious. If you ask people that live in Virginia Beach, a lot of natives, they'll often forget that there is noise here in the first place. And so if you ask them for advice, for example, of where to live, they'll mention great places to live, but they won't mention the jet noise. The jet noise can be so loud you can have a conversation between you and someone else literally like 2-3 feet away from you, and you cannot listen, you can't hear what they're saying. You have to stop, wait for it to pass by, and then pick it up again. That's super annoying, super annoying. Now, the noise is not across the entire city. Mostly it's on the eastern side. If you look on the map, this jet noise zone map will give you an idea as to where the most intense noise is, and the deeper the colors around the Oceana Naval Air Station, which is where all the jets fly, the closer you are to that station, the more noise there is, and getting away from there, you'll hear less and less noise, eventually to the point to where you don't hear anything at all. Number 2 is the awful humidity. Virginia Beach suffers from humidity. So maybe if you're from Florida or from like Louisiana, I don't know, I mean, I could be wrong, but there are some places that have some real intense humidity, and you might not think this is a big deal. However, to me, to other people that are here, the humidity here is a smack in the face. For example, right now it's the early part of June. It's about upwards of the upper 80s, about 90 degrees right now, but the heat index pushes it up closer to 95, 100, and it's muggy. And so you walk outside, and in a matter of like a minute or two, you can feel like your shirt's sticking to you, like your arms are getting a little sweaty. It's just gross. Not to mention, because it's so humid, it does lead to more moisture issues with houses. So termites are a pretty big thing here, fungus as well. So getting a termite and moisture treatment or an inspection on a regular basis is real important. But the humidity and the wetness of the air is just, it's just so annoying. And so you might say, gosh, that's not that bad, Sam. I experienced way worse. You might be from another state where it's not as big of a deal, but I'm telling you, it is uncomfortable. You might see my car running in the summertime, and I go out and talk to you for a while, and you may be like, hey Sam, you forgot that your car's running. Nope, I knew it was running. It is hot outside. I'm gonna keep my AC going in the car. The next is the lack of public transportation here. This has been a problem for decades. I tell people, if you do move here, you've got to have a car. Public transportation exists. There are bus stops, there are routes, and I'll throw a link below so you can see what the routes are for bus stops in this area. However, in general, you're gonna have some problems getting to places very quickly. There's a light rail in downtown Norfolk or in Norfolk that can go across the city. However, it stops in Virginia Beach. To me, they haven't really been very proactive in trying to get more public transportation or get more access to things here in the city. So until then, it's going to be a lot of roads, a lot of driving yourself, and even walking isn't super handy either. So if you plan on living in Virginia Beach, please get a car, for goodness sakes. That actually leads to the large amount of construction in this area. So first of all, I think the city of Virginia Beach was not designed for 500,000 people, which is where we're at now, population-wise. It's grown in the last 30 or so years from it being in the 80s, 90s. You saw a ton of suburbs being developed in that time period. So because of that, they're trying to revamp and expand the road system and just change the road system to adapt to all the new cars that are on the roads, right? And so because of that, a lot of construction has happened. So you got traffic and you got construction. You'll find specific specific construction in and around interstate exits. So where they're trying to either expand exits or they're trying to reroute things, that's where it's getting the most complicated, especially around certain parts of Interstate 264 going straight across from east and west in Virginia Beach. But for now, there are several places that were really rough with congestion and traffic that have since opened up some. One of the places that had the worst traffic was on Interstate 64 going on to 264. That has since gotten better because they've expanded so much going from one interstate to the other. So I will say it gets better, it's getting better, and I think over the course of the next few years there will be a significant improvement. But in the meantime, got to deal with the growing pains. The next is you can't Airbnb very well here. Now what do I mean by that? A lot of the coastal towns, even cities anywhere in the country, you can Airbnb a property and make some good money doing it. And this is something that you'd think could also translate to Virginia Beach as well. The problem is that the city council, the city, has been very specific about where you can and cannot Airbnb property. Specifically near the beach, there are several zones, regions, if you will, that are pretty close to the beach that they're allowing it in some capacity. Up and down near the ocean front, but there are certain spots that you'd think that would allow for Airbnb opportunity that don't. And so even going up towards the north side of the beach as well. So people ask me a lot of times about if I buy a house in Virginia Beach, Sam, can I Airbnb it later? The answer is it all depends, and it is a very, very high risk. There's a good chance you might not be able to, so I would definitely not count on it, and I'll drop below some information about which areas in Virginia Beach you can Airbnb, because most of the area you can't. And they're actually hiring more people in the city to actually enforce people who are doing it illegally. I would not buy a house in Virginia Beach with the intention solely of Airbnb. Now shifting over to the winter time. This is interesting too. It is pretty boring in the winter time. I've talked to some friends of mine that have suffered from seasonal depression. Once you get past November, December into January, February, that struggle is real. A lot of the things that are to do in the area that are unique are outdoor things. And so when it's cold, like 35 degrees in January and February, you don't want to go outside very much. And there is not a whole lot of unique things to do, specifically in Virginia Beach, to kind of offset the boredom that kind of can set in. There are things you can do in Norfolk. There are things in general, like you can do like an escape room, for example, or go down to nightlife in downtown Norfolk, or even some in Virginia Beach, but there's not a whole lot of it. And so just keep in mind, if you do suffer from seasonal depression, this can be something that might be just something to keep in mind if you do plan to live here. Now next is the expensive real estate in Virginia Beach. It can be a little bit expensive to buy a house here. For example, a single family house in Virginia Beach, the median sales price last year was $325,000. That has since gone up from that to $355,000 in the span of a year, which is almost 10%. That's pretty high. To me, we've even finally eclipsed the high marks that we achieved back in 2006 and 2005 for real estate prices in Virginia Beach. So for the last few years, I think we've enjoyed a lot lower, like suppressed market. So I think the market has kind of caught up, but I still think that over time, this is the highest jump we've experienced almost ever, year over year average sales price in Virginia Beach. The next is not hurricanes themselves, but the fear of hurricanes can get people slipped up. So we don't get too many hurricanes here. If you notice on the map, you look at the geography of where Virginia Beach is, it's just north of North Carolina, but it's kind of on like a mini peninsula that sticks out into the Atlantic Ocean. Well, where the hurricanes often form, they form to the east of the Caribbean and go further west towards the East Coast. Often they'll go towards Florida, and sometimes they'll curve up towards South Carolina, North Carolina, and eventually Virginia. But because we're protected by North Carolina, we often don't get the brunt of a hurricane right at us. By the time it gets to us, there will be a little bit of a lessening. The winds are a little bit less. The rain is heavy, but then maybe not as strong as where the places that the eye wall might hit the coast. However, the news picks it up, and because there are still threats of hurricanes to hit us, and sometimes they do come, but just not as strong, that threat is a big concern for a lot of people. They try and plan accordingly. So even me, every year I often think to myself, okay, hurricane season started, what do I do? Do I get extra plywood? What should I prepare? But honestly, every year, that's never been needed. I will say there have been 2 or 3 times where it's been the closest to being needed, or some places did need it. For example, in 2003, Hurricane Isabel, 2016, Hurricane Matthew as well. That hit us pretty hard, both of those. I think they're the 2, to me, most memorable. But comparing what you see on the news, it's not as bad as what you might see there. But the concern still lingers in and amongst the community. And the one I say all the time that drives me crazy, no major league for major sports teams. We have some professional teams, Norfolk Tides, baseball, Norfolk Admirals, hockey. Those are the 2 primary ones, as well as Old Dominion football. That's where I get most of my sports need from, live sports. But it's just not the same, you know? So I love the Atlanta Braves, I love the Washington football team, and I love going to those games. And I wish there was a chance to go see a 4 major sports, major league team here in the area. I still don't think it's gonna happen. I'm just being realistic about it, but I will keep hoping as long as I keep living here. Now, if you have any more questions about living or moving to Virginia Beach and the areas around Virginia Beach, let me know. I've got my contact information in the description, as well as if you have more questions about the area or want to learn more about it, check out my YouTube channel and subscribe, and we'll check out more videos, and I will see you on the next one.